greatest threats are the once unseen. Beneath the ocean, Israel's INS Drakon and the United States Virginia-class submarines are moving silently, armed with cutting-edge technology and firepower that could alter the course of a conflict in an instant. Together, they are rewriting the rules of naval warfare, stealthier, deadlier, and ready to strike before you even know they're there. How do they stay hidden? What makes them so deadly, and what does their presence mean for the future of naval warfare? Join us as we uncover the secrets of the silent force shaping the seas. The Dolphin-class submarines were designed in Israel but built in Kiel for Israel's Shayetet 7 naval unit. The first submarines were based on Germany's Type 209 export model, but were made bigger with some changes. The Dolphin 1 submarines are a bit larger than the German Navy's Type 212 in both length and weight. The three newer submarines have powerful technology that lets them stay underwater as long as Type 212 submarines. However, they are 12 meters, which means they are about 39 feet longer and weigh about 500 tons more when they are underwater. What this translates to is that they would need more crew members than both the Type 212 and Type 214 submarines. Germany has not built any submarines this big since the Second World War, so these are also the most expensive vehicles in Israel's military. Israel bought these Dolphin submarines to replace their old Gal submarines, which they have been using since the late 1970s. Each Dolphin submarine can carry up to 16 weapons total, which is a mix of torpedoes and Popeye turbo cruise missiles. And these missiles can travel at least 1,500 kilometers. Several sources suggest they might even carry nuclear warheads with 6 kilograms, which is approximately 13 pounds of plutonium, giving Israel the ability to launch nuclear weapons from submarines. However, this nuclear capability has not been officially confirmed. Israel first planned to buy these submarines in the year 1989. They, however, ordered them in January 1990, but had to cancel the order by November. They needed the money to defend against Iraq's threats during the buildup to the 1991 Gulf War after Iraq took over Kuwait. Later, Germany helped restart the project by paying the full cost of the first two submarines, the Dolphin and Leviathan, and also paid half the cost of the third one, named Takuma. During the first Gulf War, it came out that German companies had helped Iraq improve its missiles and chemical weapons. This happened even though West Germany had agreed not to do this in 1987. The improved missiles could now reach Israeli cities. And although Israel was not fighting in the Gulf War, Iraq still fired these missiles at Israeli cities. To make up for damage to Israel during the war and to keep German shipyards working during defense budget cuts after the Cold War, German Chancellor Helmut Kohl agreed to help German companies build 2 Dolphin submarines for Israel. Israel named the first 2 submarines after the old British submarines they used in World War II. The third one, Takuma, which means revival, honors the Dakar, an Israeli submarine that sank in the Mediterranean in 1968 with its entire crew. In 2006, Israel ordered 2 more submarines from ThyssenKrupp's HDW shipyard. These new versions were 28% heavier than the older Dolphins and had special AIP engines like the German Type 212 submarines. Germany agreed to help pay for the start of construction with 170 million euros, with plans to deliver the submarines in 2012. The 2 submarines cost about 1.3 billion euros in total, with Germany paying up to 1/3. In 2010, both countries said they weren't discussing a 6th submarine. But the following year, Israel ordered one anyway, reportedly for $1 billion without German help. Things changed that July when German Defense Minister Thomas de Maizière met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Barak. They agreed Germany would pay 135 million euros of the $500 to $700 million cost. In late 2016, reports came out about talks to buy 3 more submarines from ThyssenKrupp. This led to controversy when former Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon, who had opposed buying the submarines, asked Attorney General Avichai Menablit to look into the deal. Ya'alon was concerned because Prime Minister Netanyahu's lawyer, David Shimron, was working with Mickey Ganner, who represented ThyssenKrupp in Israel. On November 23, 2016, Mandelblit decided to have prosecutors investigate the case. In July 2021, after Netanyahu's government lost power, new Defense Minister Gantz and MK Saar started looking into the submarine deal more seriously. They called it the Case 3000 and said they needed to investigate every part of how the submarines were purchased. In October 2017, Israel and Germany agreed to a deal for 3 more Dolphin submarines, to be delivered starting in 2027. They officially signed the agreement in January 2022, planning to get the first submarine within 9 years. These new submarines would replace the first 3 Dolphins, which would be about 30 years old by then. Germany agreed to help pay for a third of the cost by supporting German companies in building the submarines. The 2 submarines have 10 torpedo tubes, 6 that are 533 millimeters, which is 21 inches wide, and 4 larger ones that are 650 millimeters, or 26 inches wide. The bigger tubes can be used for mines, large cruise missiles, or small vehicles that carry divers. These tubes can also fire regular torpedoes and missiles if special liners are added. The submarines first used Atlas electronic DM2A3 torpedoes that could be guided by wire. These torpedoes carried a 260-kilogram warhead and could work in 2 ways. When actively tracking targets, they could go 40 knots, that is 74 kilometers per hour and 46 miles per hour, and hit targets 13 kilometers, 8.1 miles away. In passive mode, they moved slower at 22 knots, but could reach 28 kilometers at 17 miles. Israel later got newer DM2A4 torpedoes to replace the older ones. These use electric power and fiber optic cables to communicate, which made them better at avoiding enemy defenses thanks to improved electronics. Military experts think Israel's Dolphin submarines can carry nuclear weapons, giving them a backup way to launch them from the sea. When Israel tried to buy long-range Tomahawk missiles in 2000, the United States did not agree to this purchase due to international rules, however. Its own Navy used its submarine torpedo tubes to launch both nuclear and regular Tomahawk missiles. 2 major research groups, the Federation of American Scientists and GlobalSecurity.org, say the submarine's larger torpedo tubes can fire Popeye turbo cruise missiles that might carry nuclear weapons, and that the United States Navy saw Israel test one of these submarine missiles in the Indian Ocean, and the submarine missile flew 1,500 kilometers. The Dolphin submarines use several key systems to operate. The main control system is the ISIS-91 from ST and Atlas Electronic, which handles weapons, sensors, navigation, and operations. For detecting threats, it has a Timnex radar warning system that can spot radar signals between 5 and 20 GH and can figure out where radar is coming from within 5 to 10 degrees. It also has an ELTA radar for scanning the ocean surface. To detect things underwater, it uses an Atlas Electronic CSU-90 sonar system that can both actively search for objects and passively listen. Another interesting feature of the submarine is its design, which helps it stay hidden in 2 ways. It has a special prismatic hull shape and smooth connections to its sail, making it harder to detect. It's built with non-magnetic materials, so it won't trigger magnetic mines or be spotted by magnetic sensors. It has 2 Kollmorgen periscopes to see above water and can attach a special compartment behind its sail for carrying special forces teams. The submarines have 3 diesel engines made by MTU Friedrichshafen. These power 3 electrical generators and 1 main motor that turns the propeller. Together, this system gives the submarine enough power for all its operations. The submarine moves faster underwater at 20 knots than when it's near the surface using its snorkel at 11 knots. In June 2009, a submarine went to the Red Sea for training and stopped at Israel's Eilat naval base. Eilat is a small piece of coast between Egypt and Jordan. Israeli media saw this as sending a message to Iran. However, a newspaper wrongly quoted the defense official, saying Eilat isn't a good place for these submarines. The problem is its location. The entrance through the Straits of Tiran is narrow and surrounded by potential enemies, with Saudi Arabia on one side and Egypt's Sinai region on the other. From Israel's main Navy base in Haifa, submarines have 2 choices to reach the Persian Gulf. Use the Suez Canal or go the long way around Africa. The Suez Canal option is faster, but means traveling on the surface where everyone can see them. An old treaty from 1888 says Egypt has to let all ships use the canal, no matter which country they're from or whether there's a war on. Egypt blocked Israeli ships from using both the Suez Canal and the Straits of Tiran in 1956 and 1967. Israel responded both times by taking over the Sinai region to break these blockades. Later, the peace treaty between Egypt and Israel fixed this problem. It said Israeli ships could freely use the Suez Canal and that everyone could use the Strait of Tiran and Gulf of Aqaba. Israel may have used submarines to support alleged airstrikes in Sudan, even without access to nearby bases. While the Sudanese government denies any attacks occurred, a couple of Sudanese news outlets reported that Israeli submarines were active off Sudan's coast around the time. The specific timing is unclear, with the media accounts placing the incidents in either November or December 2011. If true, Israel likely relied on submarine tenders, special ships that can resupply and service submarines while at sea, to enable secret underwater operations so far from Israeli ports. This approach of using support vessels is how other militaries have employed submarines when friendly bases were not available in the area. Israel used a submarine to attack Syria's Latakia port in 2013, specifically a Dolphin-class sub-launched long-range missiles at some fancy new Russian anti-ship weapons that Syria had just gotten. The reports say Israel coordinated the strike with the United States and was targeting Yakhant missiles and radars that had recently been unloaded at the port. So in simple terms, it looks like Israel may have teamed up with the United States to take out some serious Russian weapons before Syria could put them to use, and did it by launching missiles from a submarine. On December 2020, Israel sent one of its submarines through the Suez Canal and into the Red Sea. The sub was headed for the Persian Gulf. Why? Israel was worried Iran might try to retaliate for the killing of one of its top nuclear scientists, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. He was assassinated in November. So Israel wanted to have a submarine ready in the Persian Gulf, just in case Iran decided to strike back. The sub was essentially a warning to Iran and a way for Israel to launch a counterattack quickly if needed. The whole thing shows how tensions are always high between Israel and Iran, and how Israel is ready to use its military might if it feels threatened by sending a submarine to Iran's backyard, which sends a pretty clear message. Now, there is a new Israeli submarine called the Drakon that's being built by a German company. Israel and Germany aren't saying much about it officially, but there's talk that it'll be bigger and have some new tricks up its sleeve. The shipbuilder released some pictures that show the Drakon has a new shape and a larger tower-like thing called a sail sticking out of the top. People think that could mean it has room inside to launch missiles straight up, like a vertical launch system. Basically, Israel might be getting a fancy new submarine with more firepower and capabilities than the ones it has now. But until it's finished and in action, a lot is still under wraps. The German company building Israel's new submarine says the Dakar is going to be a totally new design. They're making it specifically to meet what the Israeli Navy needs. No hand-me-down subs here. This one will be custom-made from scratch to get the job done right for Israel. So the mystery is starting to clear up, but there is still a lot we don't know for sure about what this new sub can do. One thing is for certain, though. It's not just another run-of-the-mill submarine. This thing is built specially for Israel, and it's got some unique features to match. An expert named Matus Smutny took a close look at the sub's sail and came up with some interesting ideas about what else it could be used for, besides just missile launchers. He thinks the sail might have a special compartment for releasing underwater drones or even aerial drones. Basically, little robots that can go off and do their own thing. The sail could also be used for special ops missions or to gather intel. Another guess is that the funky new sail design could be a way to test out the technology that will go into Israel's next generation of subs, called the Dakar class. Now, let us move to the United States Virginia-class submarines. Here is a breakdown of what you need to know about the Navy's Virginia-class submarines. 1, they are the newest nuclear-powered fast attack subs in the fleet. The Navy uses them for all sorts of missions in the open ocean and near coastlines. They are especially good at hunting other subs and gathering intelligence. The Virginia class is set to take over from the old Los Angeles class subs, although a bunch of those have already been retired. Reports have it that the Navy plans to keep building Virginia class subs until 2043. They are expected to stay in service for a long time, at least until 2060, while some of the newer ones might even still be around in the 2070. So basically, the Virginia class is the future of the United States submarine force. They are versatile, they are advanced, and they will be the backbone of the fleet for decades to come. They are also part of a three-way defense pact with the United States and the United Kingdom called AUKUS. On March 2023, AUKUS announced that Australia was going to buy 3 Virginia-class subs from the United States, which is a band-aid solution for Australia. They have got these old diesel-powered subs called the Collins class that are on their way out. Eventually, they want to get some new tech subs that the three AUKUS countries are going to design together, called the SSN AUKUS class. But here's the thing. If the SSN AUKUS subs get delayed, Australia might be left high and dry without any subs at all. So buying the Virginia-class subs from the United States buys them some time. Just in case, Australia also has the option to buy 2 more Virginia-class subs if they need to. So it's kind of like a submarine safety net for them. These subs have a pretty sweet sonar setup that can be upgraded easily. The sonar arrays use something called an open system architecture. That basically means they can pop in new hardware and software as soon as it's available. The subs get hardware upgrades every 4 years or so. This is called technology insertions, and every 2 years, they get software updates known as advanced processor builds. So what kind of sonar arrays are we talking about? Well, there's a bunch. The first one is a big spherical sonar array on the bow that can send out and listen for sound waves. Some newer subs have an even bigger one called a large aperture bow array. On each side of the hull, there are 3 flat panels, which are part of a lightweight sonar array that uses fiber optics. There are 2 high-frequency sonars, one on the chin, which is located directly under the bow, and one on the sail, which is the tower-looking part. These help the sub operate better close to shore, under ice, and when fighting other subs. Finally, there is something called a low-cost conformal array. It is another high-frequency sonar that's mounted on both sides of the sail. It lets the sub see above and behind it. So in a nutshell, these subs are loaded with all kinds of fancy sonar tech to help them navigate and fight, and it can all be upgraded pretty easily to keep up with the latest and greatest. But wait, there's more. The Virginia-class subs also drag a couple of other sonar arrays behind them. There is the Fat Line Tactical Towed Array, which is either a TB-16 or TB-34, depending on which sub we're talking about. Then there's the Thin Line Long Range Search Array, which could be a TB-29 or TB-33. So between the sonar on the sub itself and these towed arrays, the Virginia-class has a pretty comprehensive way of hearing what's going on under the water, near and far, which makes it a submarine with surround sound. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there!